My name is Micah Bowers. I am the founder and CEO of Bluefire Productions. We're a small 10-person company located in Seattle, Washington. We're employee-owned. Bluefire was founded in 2001. The company is focused on user experience. We're a technology company that focuses on the blending of design and technology to provide digital media experiences to consumers. Our business is consultative, meaning we work for other companies to help them develop their own products. For the first 5 years of our business, we worked primarily with large software companies, Microsoft, Sony, Adobe, and while working at Adobe, began working with a gentleman named Bill McCoy when he was working on something else than ebooks. But then in about late 2005, Bill McCoy decided to take on a new project at Adobe, which was to completely revamp their ebook platform to make what it is today, the ACS, Adobe Digital Editions, RMSDK ecosystem. We'd worked closely with Bill's team, so my team and Bill's team worked very closely together for a couple years while we deployed Adobe Digital Editions. We launched the Sony ebook store platform and devices, the Nook bookstore and devices, and that was a very exciting time. It was a new era in ebooks. As that became much more deployed technologies, Bill moved over to the IDPF, which is the standards body for the EPUB standard, to shepherd through the EPUB 3 specification. Bluefire at the time decided that what we needed to do was to take that Adobe platform and port that to mobile devices. So we came out with the first iOS application that supported the Adobe ebook platform. We later added Android. And since then, we've now deployed 69 different brands with iOS and Android apps all over the world, including Sony ebook stores. We did their apps as well. And we also are a reseller of Adobe's technologies. We currently license, for example, ACS to over 100 companies in 37 countries. And a few years ago, about 3.5, 4 years ago, it became clear that Adobe was not going to, for political reasons internal to the company, was not going to invest in upgrading their platform to EPUB 3. And so we decided that the solution to that would be to create an open source project to do that as a community. And so we worked with Bill McCoy at the IDPF to create the Redium Foundation and the Redium projects. And there were two other companies that were founding members at that time, one which was Kobo and another Evident Point out of Vancouver, Canada. And since then, we've been very involved with the Redium project. We're probably the largest commercial contributor to that project. I serve on the board of directors of the foundation as an officer, and that's been a very exciting project for me. Really, Bluefire, for the last 10 years now, our focus has been really how do we solve the problems around reading applications. Others have mentioned, there are real thorny problems. It's very expensive, it's time consuming, it's very difficult technology. And really, the ultimate challenge is the fact that consumer expectations are exceedingly high. And this is because consumers now on these mobile devices, the primary apps that they use are apps that are deployed by multi-billion-dollar global corporations, Facebook, Apple, Google, et cetera. That establishes those expectations, and those same companies make ebook platforms. And so that level of user experience is what consumers expect, not only in ebook apps, but in general in the apps that they consume media in. And so reaching that bar is rather challenging. And of course, DRM adds a huge component to that, especially once you get into smaller companies trying to use a shared DRM platform, unlike the big platforms that have their own proprietary system that they completely control. You end up working with an ecosystem that has very specific limitations and challenges, and it can be very complex and very difficult to do well. One of the biggest problems, and I think for me personally, having designed the ACS ecosystem, found that one of the biggest things that we set out to do at the beginning was to create interoperability so that anyone could use this platform on any device and they all work together. And I think that in hindsight, I found that that was a big mistake in the way that we did it, in that what we did is we ended up forcing interoperability, meaning if you want to participate in the platform, you must be interoperable to all these other platforms, and that's created a huge problem for consumers and for retailers, and it's a whole nother conversation. I'd love to do a whole presentation just on that, but we don't have time today, but that's, I think, a real takeaway for me. And so what are the solutions? Well, the solutions that we've come up with in the past and are continue to work on for solving this ebook issue, ebook reader issue, one, of course, is now open source software. And that means, really, at the end of the day, the open source software is about a community project where the participants share the cost of the development, because it is a very expensive proposition. In the past, has been, therefore, controlled by large corporations. This creates limitations on innovation in the industry, and open source is the solution that unlocks that innovation. White label apps has been Bluefire's primary business for the past few years, and this is a cost-effective way of deploying branded apps for lots of different companies, libraries, retailers, publishers that sell direct, and other folks that are outside the traditional trade publishing industry. Also software development kits like RMSDK, which we did at Adobe, but also the open source SDK that we're creating for Redium, as well as SDKs that Bluefire is also creating to help retailers and libraries quickly and inexpensively deploy their platforms. And the other factor is that I think is a very important part of solutions is collaboration. And part of that is through the open source initiatives. But again, getting back to this issue of interoperability, interoperability only works correctly when there is an actual collaboration between the businesses involved looking to be collaborative, because that user expectation today is not about moving files around and transfer them from device to device. It's signing into an app, everything's there, everything works, it's synced everywhere, and if you're gonna have multiple companies doing that, they must work together. That's very important. The other component of a solution is a flexible DRM, and that's one of the reasons that I'm really pleased on the work that has been done for URMS. It's why I'm here today, because I think that's been achieved. And so what is flexible DRM? Well, one important piece is that it's rendering engine agnostic. And what that means is that in the case of, for example, the Adobe platform, the rendering engine to render the content, to display the EPUB and the PDF, and the DRM system are completely intertwined. You cannot separate them, you cannot use them separately. And this has a dramatic impact on the limitations on innovation that can happen in the industry. And so having the ability to have a DRM system that can work with Redium SDK or with a PDF renderer or with an audiobook platform or with a comic book engine is absolutely critical for the success of the future of the digital publishing industry. Another piece that's important about the flexibility is it's API-based. So in the past, we have platforms where ACS, for example, you install this on your own back end. It's software you have to install on a server. You need IT people, and you need certain infrastructure technologies. With URMS, it's API-based. Anyone can do it. You don't need special IT skills, and you're not limited based on the infrastructure choices that you've made because you have RESTful APIs. Low IP risk is absolutely critical. And that is one of the reasons why Adobe has been valuable, why URMS is valuable, because those patent licenses are absolutely critical to reduce the risk, because it is a very litigious environment in ebooks, in DRM in particular. Many of my own customers have been sued. Most of the big players have been sued. It is a real issue. So that's a very important thing and a value that is brought forth by Sony. We talked a little bit about renewability, and updating of licenses is a big part of flexibility, and that ability to extend a license so that you can have lending without re-downloading, you can have subscription services, you can have the corporate uses. That updatability, that refreshing of the license is absolutely critical. And then the other component is that I say least possible assumptions. And what I mean by that is when we created ACS, we tried to figure out what were all the things that people would need in the industry, and we would come up with a set of controls that would do that. And we wanted, and part of this was due to interoperability. So when we said, okay, you can either have one device or 6 devices. no 3, no 8, 1 or 6. And that was designed to try to address the use cases, but those are assumptions that didn't hold up over time. And that's the nice thing about URMS, is that it has the flexibility for those business rules to be created and to be changed as the industry changes. And so if there's a question of why did we choose URMS for our new platform that we're working on and deploying, and the answer is that flexibility that we talked about in the last slide. In terms of products where we're integrating this, is that we're creating something called the Cloud Shelf SDK. And what we found is that taking DRM technologies and e-reader technologies, such even things like Redium, and taking those technologies and building a good quality, featureful app that is consumer grade is still very expensive and very time consuming. It can take anywhere from 6 months to a year. It takes a team of about 5 people at the very least for 2 platforms. And this adds up quite a bit. And this is very specialized technological skills. And so what we've done is we've taken Redium and we've taken the Sony technologies and we've taken our e-reader application technologies and we've bundled those up into plug-and-play component, SDK components that any developer can take, implement in their own project, add their own skin, add their own features if they want to, but they can have a full-featured EPUB 3-enabled, DRM-enabled app in a week. And that's a huge change, and we've just released the iOS version of that to our first customer. Android is coming here in the next month. You can actually go see now, today you can go download, let's see, Cloud Shelf Reader for iOS is available on the App Store, so if you'd like to see an implementation of that Cloud Shelf SDK, full EPUB 3 support, media overlays, fixed layout, video, audio, multimedia, animation, and full EPUB 3 reading. And really this is bringing our 10 years of experience building these reading applications and making it accessible to any developer. The other thing that we're doing that's new at Bluefire is that we've opened Bluefire Studios. So in a lot of ways, we're returning to our roots in that in the first 5 years of the company, we did a lot of custom work. For a lot of customers. In the last 10 years, we've only been creating these technologies and licensing the software. We decided now that the time is right for us to reopen Bluefire Studios. And so not only will we sell the core enabling technologies to customers, those that want custom implementations designed by a company that knows how to do it, we're here to do that now. And it's an exciting new initiative for us. And that's it. Thank you.